I have Athena from X on, and we want to make sure that everyone is kosher, and we're getting an update from Athena. So, Athena, it's been a while.
It's been a
What
while.
is going on in your life? I know you're a vet, and you're homeless. I heard that you got your son back,
Yes, yes. He's
and
been
I heard
wonderful.
you are doing a podcast on X.
Well, I heard that for the first time right now.
I think he
Oh,
means,
okay.
if I can
I'm
jump in,
co-hosting
I think he means
spaces.
gratitude unleashed. I think that's what he's referring to. Your community
Yeah.
that you've been creating with. Is that what you're saying, David?
Oh,
Well, yes. I
JPNA?
mean,
Okay.
that's part of
And
creating a
and Athena is
podcast or
also known
leading
as
a
Julie
podcast.
on X now. We knew her as Athena originally, full circle. If
Yeah,
I can
I
throw that out
know,
there.
but
Yeah, well, they
it's
don't.
oh,
we all
okay.
know now.
They don't now,
Well, oh,
right?
It's
there,
a
How
full
there you
circle.
go. There you go. Well, that's how I knew her originally.
Right,
So
right.
if she wanted to keep her uh, privacy, then that was up to her. Is kind of where I was going with that. Um, so what is going in your life, Julie?
So I came back from all of these things um, in a pretty cool way. I'm now, like, my new mantra is I'm allowing myself to be as badass as I want.
Okay.
So I'm not creating art as much as heavily because I have processed a lot of stuff. So there's not a lot of chaos, a lot of peace.
Okay.
Um, I've had my son back since it's going on like a year and a half now. You know, and
Yay.
no DCF files have been filed, no nothing. So I'd say things are going really good. So good that I'm thinking about taking off the antidepressant on my medication list because a whole year and a half has gone by since I've retained custody. And the whole reason I started was because, when you're going through something like losing your son, you just have this like internal intrusive thought constantly of just like, hey, why
Right.
don't you just. But anyways, I made it through, and um, I've recently started playing the piano again, which is fun. Um,
Okay.
I
So
also
you
started jujitsu, which is also fun.
wow. No, I know as a veteran, I don't know, you were part of Marines, correct?
Maybe we're
Navy.
close. We're the men's
You're
department
you're
of the
you're, you're the
Marines.
transporter for the Marines, yeah, as they call them. But I know you guys got special training as far as the Navy goes, for combat skills. What kinds of things are you finding that you learned in the Navy that is applying to jiu-jitsu or martial arts?
Discipline and being able to follow instructions. Like when I was learning about the Beretta, I had never. I mean, I had played with guns before, not played with them, but like shotguns. But we had to learn specific things, and it was like, if you do this, you will get a Beretta bite. Don't hold your hand here. So in jujitsu, they say when you fall, don't catch yourself. You got to fall and do a break fall, which is when you slap the ground. And there's like little certain things, and it's like attention to detail, really, because it's make or break. Like if you're not paying attention and you're caught up in your head, and the instructor is explaining the move to you, 2 minutes has gone by and you don't know a damn thing he said. So like being able to focus, being able to have the discipline and the consistency, the drive, the willpower to be like an absolute warrior. And I mean that like I just got my ass kicked the other day, and it's like, ooh, I don't want to go back. I really don't. But then I have to
Yeah.
because of why I'm not a quitter. I have quit a lot of things in the past, but this is not one I want to quit. And um, I think of it like there's other people there that are in the service now. There's an instructor who's a veteran, so it's like this is right up my alley. I didn't get to do any martial arts in the military, but that was something that I was always interested in learning because the Marines
Okay.
did McMap, and it was like, ooh, please, this is perfect for me because self-defense,
Right.
PTSD, yeah, I'm all about it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
It is all about mindset as well. They teach you that. through the martial arts. I know someone that does Wing Chun and Tai Chi, so and other
Mm-hmm.
things. So I understand that when you're a black belt, second degree, you're at least you're teaching more mindset than you're teaching repetition. But through repetition, you build up a discipline, and through discipline, then you learn how to think or project the things that you want to come back to you.
Right. When I first started, my friend, she said, it's important that you don't go around looking for opportunities to practice jujitsu, because now that you're trained, the whole game is different. And at first, I was walking around looking at people like, are they trained in jujitsu? Could they beat me up? How could,
Mm-hmm.
could I even defend myself against someone? So now it's like, um, it's something that I don't want to do. I don't want to dislocate someone's arm, but could I? Probably.
Yeah,
Could I
I
make someone
mean,
pass out?
yeah,
Yeah, probably.
If I can jump in here too, and you were
sure.
speaking of like the fine tuning of having to learn the Beretta. I'm trying to relate all this full circle,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing too, I've learned anybody that's ever gone into martial arts too, they'll ask the question to whoever is into guns, right? If guns is the conversation that they have for security, is okay. So what are you gonna do when you don't have that on you, or when you had it taken away? Then what? What do you have there? And Julie, you even beyond whatever may come up because the gun may be present. Like I'm just stepping into this I want to acknowledge like the fact of not only your discovery, but you're wanting to like relearn how it is that will occur for you. And honestly, this is just me, and this is like the outside looking in. If I were a fly on the wall with you, if I were to just hear you say like, "Listen, I don't want to have to do anything," if I were to just hear that verbally, I would be shaking, and not like bad, but like that way, because I already hear that that's your genuine being, right? You do not, and if it's honestly just sharing the truth with somebody, and if they just can't get truth, you have what you said you know what to do. Yeah, and in
I
a way
said
where
the
you know
other
it's not
day.
fatal too. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and
Yeah.
I'm not here for that. I'm not here for violence. Violence begins
No.
violence. But I'm not here to also be a fool and let somebody just beat up on me. So
Right.
again, pros and cons. But I get what you're saying that, but it's interesting because you're leaning back from the mindset. I feel like David was saying too, of the militaristic mindset, but you're also still taking those skills. And David, I want to acknowledge that you brought that part into this, and you're seeing that for yourself. It's like these new lenses are here. And it's not just in that area of your life, in your area of your relationship, of being not only your friend and partner or whoever it is you're at with right now, and in the dating realm, whatever it may be, and also with your own child too. And that's an important relationship too. I think we forget within veterans, and whether it's male, female, whatever the identifier is, there's that integrity aspect of that, of wanting it if somebody wants it, and if somebody's really wanting to go after that, being the relationship of anything, whether it's because they had a breakup, but as adults can be adults, I'm going to say that too. You've discovered as yourself too, and I don't know what the other conversation may be with whoever the spouse is or ex-spouse, but you've seen that for yourself and taken on what it is you're doing here for not only your own security but for peace of mind. You could start with word, like you don't have
Right.
to pull out a sword or even a taser. You can just be like, listen, like I don't want to have to do this, and the person will probably be like, well, do what? Like, do what? Like, what do you? It's here. You don't have to say anything yet.
Right. I
Wow.
mean, when you know how to go after someone in a fight or flight situation, like as opposed to running, going after them, like there's this thing in your brain, and I have been training it on the mat, and it's like I went to freeze. And I kept going to freeze. Trauma after trauma, I would freeze. And you would think you would learn. Well, now I'm learning. And I am now thinking on my toes a little bit more, but also, like, just like you said, the words. The other day there was a woman saying something. She was running her mouth, and she threatened me. And I was like, she probably
Trigger.
that.
I don't doubt trigger. Let's throw it
She
in
was
there. Like,
outside
yeah.
my back door yelling, talking crap, like coming up close to my property, threatening, telling me to come outside, saying this and that. So anyways, when she said that this is the projects, I was like, honey, this is my home. You're making it real projecty right now. Can you please simmer down? Why are you yelling? There's 6 kids right here. She said, well, I beat this girl's, and I beat this girl, and I don't mind if I have to do it again. I was like, listen.
Are you hearing like
I will.
yourself from before and then your distinction now? Even now. You haven't mastered the art, but you're like seeing yourself like, I don't want to do that. I see it in you. Maybe that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. Am I wrong?
I've grown,
and then you have choice. Yeah.
And the fact that I didn't go out there and brawl once all the kids were inside.
Mm-hmm. You set an example if you wanted to set one.
And I told her, I said, listen, you want to put your hands on me, that'll be the last thing you do. I'll have you in a chokehold so fast because I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I promise you.
Listen, I don't want to do this. That's all I would start with. You have everything else there, but I would say, listen, I don't want to do this. Please don't.
Yeah,
I would,
But
What is that?
You have to give them a warning.
3 warnings.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm going to put you in Ezekiel chokehold. Oh, no, not that. Okay, armbar. No, okay, full body triangle. Got him.
Then there's that fine line between that and incitement. So, but I get what you're saying. I hear you. Yeah.
It was a tough. It was a tough.
You know what it is though? I'd rather these conversations come up in society over, say, drugs or guns or any of the other things that are out there too. I think these are some of the conversations to have if we have to have them, and I'm uncomfortable talking about them, and I feel like why not? Maybe it's because we haven't talked about them a whole lot as a society, or there's this taboo around letting it exist out there, and having the single mother who's recreating and looking out for herself and another. And
you talk to other veterans too, Julie?
Ooh, yeah.
About your PSTD and your time through the Navy. I know you. We ended the 20-year war in Afghanistan. We ended the war in Iraq. We're starting another war near Iran or in Iran from Israel. I know you probably keep tabs on what's going on in the military because you were, of course, a veteran. And you know that they can recall you into the forces if they go to war. Think for so many years after you're a veteran. But what is your stance on all the uproar that we're seeing in all over the country for immigrants, undocumented immigrants? I really do feel bad for those who came over when they were minors because they didn't know any better. They didn't have any choice. It's like your son. He didn't have a choice to come into this world. He also didn't have a choice that his mom became a Navy officer. Or, So when you were deployed, you were deployed. And your country demanded you of that, So discuss about that.
Well, loaded question for sure, but I think I am prepared with a bullet answer. So
you want buckshot or do you want 12 gauge?
So I got a 40-6 that'll answer this problem.
Oh no!
Listen, I take 2 pills every night, and they're my 2 9mm pills, and it's the it helps with the coping of emotions when things arise, and I think this political atmosphere is tough. It's real tough. And I have buried my head in the sand. And now, since you're asking me to take it out, I shall suppose to read my own emotions and reflect on them real quick for you because it's hard. And I think I don't want to offend anybody. Let's just start there.
Nothing wrong here. Yeah.
And I think it's real hard because there is such a vast gap between veterans and civilians, and I didn't put it there. It's just natural. Okay, so
correct.
When I was doing veteran mediation, I was doing it because I wanted to get a little bit more knowledge on wars and peace and all these insider things, like why can I do mediation for veterans here, but we can't send mediators overseas and mediate these wars? Well, they probably do that. I'm just a little slow. But anyways, I wanted to mediate wars. I wanted to be the one to write peace treaties and agreements because apparently these brains that are serving our countries and doing things have been chained by bureaucratic red fucking tape. Sorry for my language.
No.
But there's a bureaucracy that has been established that is probably known as the deep state. And
also called the military industrial complex.
There you go. And when I was in the Navy, things were changing, and they mentioned the military-industrial complex a couple times as like it's basically taking the human out of the military and making it a big giant not a corporation, but like a factory. And so, you know, I knew I was just a number on a billet. You know, I was just an order, a slit, a piece of paper. And like, you know, the other day I got real upset and I made a TikTok venting about, tell me more how you care about veterans, because I'm on a time crunch situation. I need this medication. And my doctor's out of the office. I vented, but I was upset and I really got into my emotions, and I don't like tapping into them because it's really shitty to feel the way I do sometimes. Like, thankfully there's answers to my personal problems, but I know that there's veterans out there that don't have answers to their personal problems, and there's veterans out there with PTSD so severe that they can't leave their house and they don't open their windows to get sunlight every day, and they can't even properly medicate themselves, much less shower. And this happens to civilians too, which is even more incredible because I mentioned the vast gap, but like there's similarities. There's things that we as veterans go through that civilians couldn't fathom, but there's a lot of civilians that wanted to join, that wanted to do something, that have uncles and aunts and sisters and brothers and people that served. And it's like, why? Just maybe stop calling it the United States of America if we're this divided. Maybe it's a little misleading, you know? So like America, sure, yeah, we're American as, you know, America to me is like, America, like it's scary to say that sometimes because people know how dirty our government has been for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden, because we have an administration change, we're expected to be looked at differently, when in fact we're just a bunch of entitled rats, and that's kind of controversial. But I understand that, and I think it's sad because this, you know, this conversation about, you know, like Iran and missiles being dropped and the biolabs in Ukraine and all these things that to me are rabbit hole issues because I went through such a deep rabbit hole that it was like, okay, my life is forever changed. Now I take a 9mm bullet every night so that I don't dwell on shit I have no control of. Yeah. You know, like thinking about these wars would make me lose sleep, thinking about what I can do to help rescue these babies that are in tunnels underneath government buildings, and how can I help hunt demons, you know, like on my profile it says retired demon hunter. When I have a DCF report upstairs, that's downstairs, sorry, that says she told us that she was hallucinating and hunting demons, and I never said I was hallucinating, but I guess it's the definition of it. Fucking sue me.
Yeah, no, you're up to something. You know what I'm finding out too? No, you're speaking of peace too. If I'm coming here too, is the one thing about the people who, and first of all, there's few of the leaders, right, and there's many of the people. That's usually one thing I'm finding out all of the country. But a lot of them, they don't know what to do with peace. And I'm glad you read your history book. I'm starting to reread mine. I found it at a Goodwill. Thankfully, girlfriend found it. And it's that. It's the same kind of thing where we, the people, are kind of looking at this situation and we're like, what's going on? We've had peace treaties in the past. Like, and this is like over 200 plus years ago with some of these, like, what's occurring here? And then second of all, where's your humor? Where's your joy for us still being here? I mean, and even you as well. I want to be able to acknowledge you're a veteran who's still here. I'm a nurse who's still here. Like, that's what is so. Good, bad, or indifferent for people in our sharing. And we want that. I think, from what I'm getting from you, correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, I want other nurses to be here. I don't want them to have to go and literally be like these, you know, I have to go down the rabbit hole here, but I'll use your example, like these little infants that don't know and they're in tunnels. If we have to use that example, whether it's, you know, something to look into or not, but metaphorically, it's almost like, what is it? Plato's The Cave, right? We're in the cave. And we've seen the shadows. I don't know if everybody's ever read it, but there's the people who are, it's a cave. And in the cave, there's people who are sitting here. And all they're doing is looking at this wall. And they are seeing the shadows from people here that have literal cutouts that look like people, right? And it's supposed to say that this is the world and it's a cave. And once you finally have enlightenment or you reach wanting the all-knowing of whatever it may be, You crawl out of the cave, and that's the allegory. I mean, it's. But I feel like even here we've reached the point where I feel like whatever caves we were in, we've come out of, and we're like, hold on, this stuff occurred down there, and there's other people that are down there, and that's literally the story of the cave. And full circling back, it's through your self-discovery and your reflection, I feel, that you've really found this. And to come back and want to give still, in my opinion, you're still serving. And I know David said they could call you back in. Why can't you remote serve and do that? That made a difference even in my day today, hearing that. So, I'm just saying. Yeah, oh, please jump right in, yeah.
It's a conspiracy, and I guess back in the day they used to be called crackpots. I learned that from a lady on Facebook today.
Mm-hmm.
So crackpot away, right?
Yeah.
So I guess there's this theory that the military takes veterans and turns them into super soldiers. So they really never
you're
stop.
talking about like Captain American stuff.
Yeah. Because they pump you up with all the vaccines. They have all these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that called of gain? Something of gain, right? It's a global. Yeah, right. That's the global definition, as we all know what it is and what is so. Yeah, you're up to something. But good, bad, or different. We're not the first country to do it too. There was a country before us, and probably other ones that were. But it's this thing too. It's like consciousness isn't enough. I don't know what else to say it beyond that. It's this, and I think it's the same thing with the missiles. I'll go into George Carlin-esque here. It's my missile's bigger than yours. And they're shaped, meanwhile, they're shaped like phalluses. So it's like, right? And then we even look, and I'm not here to mock veterans, but even in the rankings, right? We have this thing that looks like this. It's also another penis or another phallus. It's how many you have on top that makes it bigger. And it's amazing. If you wanted to do a cutout, yeah, full circle for you, I know. This is, it is what is so, and I hope humor, take it with you. Please do.
It's all about
and we're just sitting back here like, what are you all doing? Where are we going? What's the goal here? And there's no answer for it. Our answer is peace. Stop it.
I really want to drop into NATO's office and have a conversation with somebody there and be like, listen.
Let's get a plane. Let's get a flight. I'm looking it up now. Let's go. Yeah.
I just need to know, and I promise not to sell the population book.
I'm going to eat smelly food before we go into the office, and I'm going to let out this, and make sure you keep a good distance, okay? I will let out my own expression before it comes out of my mouth, and that is what I will think, because I think we can do many things for peace. We can go to school for peace or not go to school for peace, as long as you're doing it for peace, because if you're going to school to help out the war effort, and you want to do it for peace, in my opinion, if it were me, that would make sense.
Don't you
whatever
know,
sense
don't
is.
You know that's what gym was for, was to train young men.
No, keep going. Yeah, full circle. What's occurring?
Army and the military at the time.
Yeah, this guy.
Well,
I want you. I want you.
Yeah. I have a disability, and anything I think under 100 IQ they won't accept. I'm borderline, so it is what it is.
Okay. So what you're saying is you are a genius.
And they just decided you were too smart, and they said we cannot have him.
No, I'm not smart enough.
He went to West Point. He went to West Point, Julie. They kicked him out. They kicked him out. It was a drinking party or something similar, right? No. And then he went to Harvard.
He went to Yale.
He went to Yale.
He went to MIT. He did everything.
Oh my gosh. And then he came back in the winter of 1944, and we had a dinner like no other, truly. It was something. The prices were reasonable. The politicians were noble. And children respected their elders. You know, they respected their elders, Julie.
Wow. And I know what you're talking about, but that's a crazy theory. Respecting your elders, like.
Yeah, what is that? Let's dive into that. I know nothing.
You know, my son last weekend was beating on me, smacking me in the face.
The way kids speak to their parents today, if we spoke to our parents that way, hey, my mouth would be off my face into next year. I have thought of smacking someone's face into next year before. Yeah.
I have a question around that.
I brought you into the sport. I could take you out.
Yeah. So I have a question around that, Julie. And I'm finding this out through Haley, who is a big fan of K-pop. And I know in specific countries, and I think Portugal is another one, there's the mandation of your first, I think when you turn 18 or within a specific period, you serve and then you're done serving. What it is I guess from the outside looking in and being on the inside coming out, what are your thoughts around that? Do you think that's something that the U.S. could potentially, and it's just an idea, and coming from the mouth of a veteran, I'd rather hear it there, that of someone for not only quality of life, but I would say to help decrease domestic violence, to be able to help, and also without the use of guns, so in that learning how to use other methods, if I had to change the training myself a little bit, but and also to have that other, I guess, emotionally regulated conversations with humans too, because I still think that's something that happens globally and there's integrity around that. So what are your thoughts on like how the systems in the world kind of do that? And there's no wrong answers, good, bad, or indifferent. Like what have you seen and discovered?
So I think if they could do like a civilian style boot camp that would prepare you for a draft, because I think we already have the law that when you're 18 and a male, you have to give your information to the government for the draft, right? So unless you have a medical disability or a physical disability that inhibits you from, performing.
Which I do.
Or you're Private Ryan, right? Or you're the youngest. I don't know if that's still a thing that's around or not.
No,
I know that.
okay,
Did they nix
as
that?
As far as I remember, and I you can correct me if you're wrong, Joy. Males still have to register for the Selective Service in our country.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this year females now have to do it as well, because I think there's proposed legislation in the Congress that got passed that now females have to do the same things that males do, because that's what they wanted.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Now they have it.
I'm looking into this. Keep going. I'm looking this up.
Now it levels the playing field. I believe that every United States citizen should serve their country in one way or another, whether that be on the civilian side, doing some type of government work.
They drafted a bill in 24.
I worked for New Jersey DOT. You can work in a hospital, mental hospital.
Right.
My uncle, who was a pacifist, a Quaker, did 2 years at the Norristown Mental Hospital. So there are those types of services that United States people, citizens, should do and could do for our country, instead of just going to the military and learning how to shoot someone's head off with a whatever gun is available.
Or being told to go to war and not knowing why.
Or resenting why, knowing why, and not wanting to do it because you feel morally obligated to not. I can't. I'm so grateful that I got out when I got out, and the panic attacks and revelations that came to me when they did, not while I was in the service, because I know somebody. I'm not going to dox the woman, but I know someone that while they were in the service, they felt they had like a manic episode and got out with a dishonorable discharge because they were like, I'm serving the devil. And that's a whole conversation in itself, right? Because
and you're a demon hunter, retired demon hunter around that too. So it's more than one veteran. I'm just saying.
You literally sign your life away and you give your soul away, your rights to your body, everything, and there's no getting it back besides Jesus. There's no going back and So, anyways, that's a fun rabbit hole to go down. And
David, she mentioned drugs before. Go ahead. I want to get to those. You did. I'm into computers more now, but you brought up drugs earlier, antidepressants. I do want to get to them, but go ahead, David.
Okay.
I'm assuming you were discharged honorably?
Yeah.
Okay. So you get a plot somewhere in the United States when you die. My dad got that in 2007.
Nice life insurance policy, and I'm sorry.
My dad never got a life insurance policy, not that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe back in the Vietnam era was different. But.
Yeah, most likely. Unfortunately,
do you know
very
that you qualify for a 0% VA loan for your first house?
I do, and I almost bought one. Figure this: I could only qualify in my area for like a townhome. I didn't make it. I don't make enough money.
Well, that's a start.
So it is, and I was willing to do it. And the townhouse had a basement, middle floor, and upstairs, like 3 bedrooms or something, 2 bathrooms. $1,500 a month, and I ended up getting into housing, which is the same townhouse style, with the same, except for one bathroom, but for $400 less.
Oh wow.
And I don't have to worry about things going wrong. So if things do go wrong, I have a maintenance man, and I think it was a blessing to get this housing. And I do think more now about getting out of here, now that I've had a negative interaction with a neighbor, but I just know to rise up next time and not stoop to her level and scream.
So what are your next steps in your journey of sobriety and living a civilian life, as we call it?
Well, you mentioned sobriety, and I should say that I do a line of Coke every morning to keep me awake. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't touched alcohol in quite some time. It's a thing that kind of comes into my mind every once in a while, like, oh, it would be nice to go to a winery, but I don't drink. Or it would be nice to go to a brewery, but I don't drink, So,
well, we have a person who has.
Yeah, no. Well, okay, so now we're on to drugs. Okay, first of all, because we're talking about drugs, I like to do a disclaimer here. I'm really into computers now. I know I was a nurse. I'm still kind of a nurse at times. I still have an active degree, but drugs are okay and all. There's more dangerous things out there. I just want to say that I'm more of a tech guy before I say anything else. But if we do a little history, too, on military, I found this out. Remember when the Boston Tea Party happened, right?
Okay.
So I found this out. Tea was not selling. It wasn't profitable. So they still had these fleets to be able to help cart the tea. Well, guess where they would go to sell the tea?
Military bases?
No, of the different countries. The British would take the tea to where to sell tea. Who made fireworks?
The military.
Gunpowder, too. Before the military. Nope. There
Chinese.
was the West made guns, and the Chinese, made gunpowder and fireworks. And well before. I know, full circle, right? So they show up. This is theory. I know we're in another rabbit hole, but just this one, I don't think you shouldn't have to go too deep into the rabbit hole, from what I'm finding. So tea's not profitable. Corporate America is starting to exist, right? So what do? Well, we still have these fleets that are just as fast, and we can go to China, right? Yeah, but we can't grow this thing called the poppy plant in England. It's illegal. Okay, but what about India? Didn't we just have India? Didn't we just acquire India? So that's what they did. They were growing it in India. Then they would use the fleets to go over and still sell the opium, right, in China. And then we had, this is the other big theory, the opium wars. Then full circle.
I've heard about those.
I know, right? And then full circle, we still have the opioid epidemic going on right now. And I think I've discussed in a couple other podcasts of, I think culturally for pain, that's what it was used in China. And then America started to have the railroads, and a lot of their workers were Chinese, came over. They weren't using what we had here for pain. They were using culturally what everybody in their ancestry had looked into. So, and this is all, again, a theory, but for me, it makes sense. And that's just me. But to see, too, that, the military then was using fleet vehicles, and then we're talking beginning of America, to cart drugs, along with the British.
Our government can do that, but we as Americans can't.
Right.
Correct.
So that's, there's...
And that's dangerous. I think that's
it's
dangerous, Julie.
It's very important while you're saying dangerous, because it is dangerous, and it's equally important to pin here. The fact that there are bad actors does not mean the whole organization is corrupt. There are ways to biopsy, and I think
I like that, biopsy.
To take out and root out the problem requires a multifaceted approach, and I think to move your right hand without letting your left hand know what's going on, and like the art of war, there's so many components here. We started off with talking about the political atmosphere and these wars and stuff, and it's like the war on drugs is still happening. The war on consciousness is still happening. There's forever wars. There's all these things, and like the war on religion, that's still that's exactly what the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is all about, is sacred rights to land, and everybody just wants resources. Everyone wants to be loved, but then also there's this Messiah complex that popped up out of nowhere in the 22nd century. I don't even know what century we're in, but anyways, we found this like Messiah complex where you've got characters on X and on TikTok and all over the place popping up saying, I'm the Messiah, I'm the chosen one, I'm this. And it's like, yeah, that stuff was all prophesied about, buddy, back down. And if anything, it's all of us together, not just one person. And I'm pretty sure that would be like the best way to foolproof the plan, instead of like, well, that's obvious, why don't they just kill that person? Like, that's what they did to Jesus. That's what they did to all these people.
Malcolm
and so
X
like,
and
yeah,
Dr. King Jr.
so many different people who were like, I have a calling, and the calling is for peace and humanity.
Love and inclusion, and it's too radical, Julie. It's too
like,
radical.
We can't have that
no,
here. Sorry.
No, and it has been for thousands of years. Yeah, love
Like,
and inclusion
no.
is too
Because it
radical.
won't
Even the church
make
said it was.
money.
It's too radical.
That's why it doesn't occur.
Yeah.
The
You
only
can't make
answer,
money off
No,
love.
what'd she say? What you got, Julie? What's
listen, the
what's
only
she's
answer
cooking?
to this is the aliens. Just saying.
How are
It's
they
the
not
aliens.
the fallen? How are they not the fallen?
I was abducted. Do you see it? It's a,
Oh, is that what yours is? Oh, is that,
It's
one
a
is that what that
UFO.
is? Oh, I see it now.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Oh, yeah,
They're
okay.
getting abducted. I was never abducted by aliens in this physical present moment sense of the.
You're
what is
still here on
reality.
camera. I still see you.
Is there evil?
I just
Where'd she go?
have questions.
Where'd
I
she
have
go?
a lot of
Evil
unanswered
twin.
questions. Yeah, I just, I think there's only one answer to all of this, and it's spiritual warfare, because there's stuff that's going on beyond what our eyes can see. Some people can see it,
Powers
and
and
then they're called crazy.
principalities, if you believe in that.
They have powers and principalities, and that's what our day-to-day battle is against, is our own flesh and blood, like our own spirit and our will to preserve ourselves through this. I could go outside and in 20 minutes lose all hope for humanity. It's not hard.
No, it's not. Especially
mentioned-
when some lady comes up that you don't know and says, I want to beat the F out of you.
Yeah,
And
I was gonna
you
say.
said,
Yeah,
okay.
you mentioned the art of war, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want this the easy way, or do you want this the hard way? Because I want it the hard way.
There's two ways I could go about this.
Knuckle sandwich? One or
Same.
two?
One of two ways. We could go the easy route, and that's the peace route, and that's the way I want to go every time, because I scare myself when I get angry, and like I took an extra 2.5 milligrams of my antipsychotic because it gave me flashbacks of the psychotic episodes that I went through, and I didn't like them. I felt out of body. It's not cool. So the fact that she brought that out of me is like a huge lesson to me. And like, granted, I didn't act how I would have acted before, but I still acted in a way that brought me shame after and didn't really make me look good.
I think that some of the best battles, I think, are the ones we don't have to fight, right? Are the ones that we've found a way around, that we don't have to do and take action, or the action is we've avoided it. And you're right. There's like this incessant need, almost within the human nature, to interfere, and I think it's interfere that can lead to nitpicking or getting into someone's space of whatever that may be. Even culturally, they're all different, and to see that out of that, it's this area of, and I guess for what's come up for you, and I want to clarify it too. It's a spiritual war. It's not the thing of money anymore. I think those are all. A lot of these are just conversations to help distract from the actual stage and what's really going on, right? And to see that there's some people that are really watching the show now, and it's been a show. I mean, the way I want to say the USA that I've seen so far is we had a literal person who in the '90s had a show where he could fire people, and now that's who's running the show here. So it was literally
just like he did on the show.
See what I'm saying? So full circle, and I'm not just saying it's because of one president. Like that is also what is so. And to see that, I mean, if we were to also judge the whole system, I'm glad you declared this a little bit earlier, on just the current political situation, we'd be fools. We'd be fools, because it's not the way that the whole system is. And I get the disgruntledness. And matter of fact, I think we don't let whatever is called democracy exist if we don't allow those areas of opposition, even if they are fleeting, and allow them to be fleeting, because usually they are. But I think it's the area where we don't allow those to show up, and I don't care how uncomfortable it is. Last I checked, there's the phrase good, bad, or indifferent. See, and with that, it's that the conversation that can be had, whether it's with the citizen all the way up to still the citizen who's in power called the president.
And is there really a good or bad?
What is good or bad? Who said?
Or is that something that we make up?
Who said? Right.
Lots of constructs of the human mind, and
Oh, absolutely.
I think that having the ability to talk and articulate such deep things is rare, and I don't often have deep conversations with people like I used to, where I would, talk about like quantum theory and everything and quantum entanglement. But like, I do believe that there's been like a turning point. We're at the beginning of something beautiful, but we're still seeing a lot of this residual karma from our previous Earth, if that makes sense. So like, everybody is going through like a cleanse, I think.
Right.
And the sun, is like going through these little bursts and emitting gamma rays and doing funny things to our atmosphere. But like, what do you think that's doing to us inside of our bodies? If you follow the Schumann resonance or any accounts that do that, there's major blowouts that happen and people wake up unaware of their frequency and how it's been changed and manipulated. And I think, eventually we're all going to get back to a peaceful, harmonic place, but like the how and like the detailed plan, I guess that's where we leave it up to God, and that's where faith comes into play. And that's, some people say it's foolish, but I think, not knowing where the next step is, but taking this step anyways, because you have faith that the staircase is there, in the dark. Like, I take showers in the dark because I'm afraid of going blind one day. And like, because my eyesight is so poor, I do things, and like, I think of it like, we're so blessed to have the things that we have, but like, faith really does make up for where humans lose words. Like, and it's kind of shitty. There's a lot of things that have been going on, like the floods in Texas, right? Or the floods wherever they may be. A lot of my friend and I the other day were talking about it, and it's like, you want to say like, where is God? How could God allow this to happen? And I said, this reminds me of a sermon one time where it was, I guess, 40,000 people visit the World Trade Centers every day, like as visitors. So the fact that only 2,969 people died or something like that, 962, I don't remember the exact number. Yeah, so it's like...
Imagine if that happened at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right, yeah. And so like little things like that is God's hand stopping the enemy's plans, and like I said to her, what if 2,000 people were supposed to die in these floods and only 40 or 100? Or it's like, you don't know because you can't see.
Yeah, and the news isn't going to cover it. They're going to cover the worst stuff, so we only see that. You're up to something. Even if the clearer picture is bigger and broader, they're going to hone in on the tragedy, the worst one that's out there. And I'm glad you have this distinction to look for truth. Truth is it, Julie. And what's occurring through truth? Yeah.
I had this incident that happened, and I realized the media plays a real big role in these like how you see life, and like there was a family that had experienced a fire, and they were immigrants, and they go to the building that I had an office in, and I knew that the immigrants were coming in and out because I would see them often, and none of them spoke English, but I would smile and wave and be friendly. So when I found out that one of their houses burnt down, I was, like, oh, what can I do? And so I got together a bunch of stuff. Like, I went through my house basically and got a bunch of clothes and food, and I brought it down there and set it up on the table for them. And that sparked the beginning of like an entrepreneurial, philanthropic like journey. So these news media outlets, they go to Facebook and they'll scroll the community and they'll look for stories. So because I posted on the community that I was looking for other people's donations or help, they came to me and wanted to do a feel-good story, as they put it. So they came to my office, called Heaven on My Earth, to my charity, and did an interview with me about the fact that I was donating my goods just because I felt like, how could someone go through that? I can't imagine if I went through that. They didn't mention my charity. They didn't mention the name of it. They didn't mention anything to do with where they met me. It was like, they gave this perspective of like, oh, she's just trying to do something nice this one time for this family. It wasn't like a coordinated effort of finding peace and bringing peace, like my mission statement, or nothing, So
yeah, what's your charity's name again? Say it out for the people who are going to be listening to this too. Feel free, Julie. Put it all out there.
Heaven on My Earth. HOME.
If you want to send over to the information, we can drop it in the show notes too. Nothing wrong here.
It's been suspended.
Hey, all right. Well, what have you discovered around that? Let's let everybody know in case they try to start a charity and they're brave enough to find that out. There's walls, right? There's walls. We've run into walls. JB&A, right? We've run into walls too with our nonprofit. Okay, so yeah, what did you discover? If you want to share that too.
Yeah. Once that news story hit the media outlets, a town councilman reached out to me and he said, hey, I want to talk to you. Do you think we could talk in person? Because I think what you have is great. I want to hear more about it. And I think it either went like that or I asked him to come into my office. Either way, we set up an interview. So he basically told me my office and my charity was such a great thing that there are people who would invest in me and take it very far. Like, there's millionaires in the town that he could connect me with that could sponsor me.
So he's giving you this opportunity, right? And then what? Yeah.
So I realized I needed to create a 501c3, which required a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. And that was kind of hard because this was 2015-ish. So I found a couple people. We had a meeting or two. We started developing bylaws and policies and all that jazz. So I ended up getting married and closed the office so that I could save myself extra money because he was going to go to school. Mm-hmm. So I took it and went hybrid basically and went online and continued finding. So like my main mission was finding peace on earth. And so I took to Twitter at the time and started down the QAnon conspiracy theory rabbit hole trail and ended up finding more information about why there isn't world peace. And then I went to the radio show. So like they have Coast to Coast FM and then Coast to Coast AM because they're not the same show, but they're like a knockoff. One's a knockoff. So the local college had me on their radio show and I did like the rabbit hole and I wrote them the outline and we went down and back up. And I did, a secret society a secret society interview where we talked about different cults and different clubs and laughed and joked about different ones.
Yeah. And got it out there too, right? So it's not just hiding in American history, right? Yeah. Or any world history for any cults, for any that weren't beneficial or harmful or ones that were. I mean,
I guess that's where I met you in your journey. You were being recruited for the front of Freemasonries.
Yeah, well, I was scammed hard by, I think, someone who is like a mastermind and that does this often to different people. And I'm lucky that I didn't get kidnapped. I'm lucky that, I wasn't killed or anything negative besides what did happen. I lost a lot. It felt an awful lot like selling your soul to the devil where you lose everything because I lost everything. And I was like, how do I redeem the situation if this is what caused it? One of my neighbors prayed over me, put oil on my head. Like, I turned to God, and like, the whole thing behind me being recruited or being scammed is that I wanted to get on the inside and do an insider journal piece, like an insider knowledge journalist piece,
Right.
to reveal, hey, like put my life out there on the line and say, like, I went through this, they're lying, they say up front there's no human sacrifice, there's no blood sacrifice, but they make you take a picture step by step of the rituals that you're supposed to be inducted by, and like you're at home by yourself taking pictures of every step, and they make you prick your finger with a pin. I didn't send a picture of that because I didn't do that part, and like it's just like that's scary to think that that was just a scam. What, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like
I got recruited a couple times and I said no.
right, yeah,
I'm
and most
still
people
waiting
with
to
a
hear
logical
and see
mind.
if one of my online job opportunities is a scam or not. And it's just trying to find remote work. So there are so many instances out there, and it's the same thing I think humans have been doing for a long time. And it's lying, cheating, and stealing. And it's just in which forms and what's really revolving behind all of that. Why have humans been brought to the point of that? Usually humans don't do that right away, that I know of. That I know of. So
It's called phishing or vishing.
right. But the end goal is to either lie, again, cheat, or steal in some way, shape, or form, right? And they don't want us to talk about it, so I'm glad we're talking about it. Let's get it out
Yeah,
there.
it's
Yeah,
crazy because
yeah.
it's like I can't wrap my head around
Matter of fact,
cheating and stealing. Like you just, how
there's-
do you live your life?
Yeah, no, there's an individual who has like over 300,000 followers that I've been following, Alex Finn. I've talked about him on other podcasts
yeah.
too. He even got
NFT
scammed.
God, right?
He was going to like, right, yeah. He switched over, doxed himself too. But
Yeah.
I guess he just had like a job interview with something like literally even went on LinkedIn, looked him up. Like the one that I'm doing here, and I even posted about it online to see, and I'll post an update if it is a scam, Julie. You know, so and that's the way to do it. But like literally, I'm texting supposedly the CEO, and there's read receipts on my iPhone. It's not through some other random number. So it's like full circle that, and then I looked up their actual registration within the state of Colorado. It's checking out too. So it's like they're going in depth with all of these, and it's like, and it could be what is so and be truth and an actual opportunity. But I think we are all so like on edge as humans as to like what is reality now, where because things are so fast to go through. And again, I'm not here to disorient, but I feel I get disoriented through scams, and that's one of the things they want to do.
Right.
They throw you off your game. And like when I was in that era of being scammed, I definitely I made out, luckily, you know. I by the grace of God, I didn't lose money. I made money. And I feel like that's gonna come back on me one day, you know, karma. But I think of it like, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I learned these lessons because now when I get these, you know, like Liam Neeson, freaking crazy, why would you be messaging me? No, it's not. And so like now I can either ignore him or have fun with it.
No,
be
yeah.
like, oh my
So you
God,
had the
real
Elon
Liam
one.
Neeson.
I think what was that like March or
Yes.
March or May, and you were like,
Oh.
is Elon? You even posted about it. I want to acknowledge you even posted about it. And you're like, this can't be real. Like
There was so much that I was loud and clear about that I should have kept silent because he told me, the person I was texting and talking to said, let's keep this quiet. Let's keep this between us.
good.
You know,
Yeah, that's
there's
what they
no
want you to
reason
do. It's all
Yeah,
they
and I
want
was
you
like,
to do.
no, I'm
Yeah.
going to marry Elon
Good on
Musk.
you.
And then it was like, you look stupid.
I want to
You
acknowledge
look
your
fucking
empowerment as a human. I want to acknowledge you don't want to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I don't care how
Yeah.
rich and wealthy you are. You're not. And like, I don't care if you pay my bills. I don't care.
Yeah, I remember that.
You're
This is they
still
pay your
not
bills.
gonna-
What else? What else they say they'll do? They'll send you a check to buy equipment for work, right? JP&A, you've had something similar like that, and then they don't say that the
Yeah,
address.
there's
They don't
checks.
confirm the address. They just say they'll send it to an address on file, and you're like, and when you go to confirm, there's no answer. So and it
got a
takes
debit
over a
card.
day. Yeah.
They sent me 2 different debit cards to 2 different bank
No,
accounts.
this is a
checkbook
new
to
one. What is
account.
this?
Just a debit card for a bank account, and it says, here, use your debit card. I'm like, no. And then there was another bank account that was opened. I don't know. I drove down to Chase Bank to try to figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I got a checkbook sent to me in the mail with my name, my address, someone else's bank account information. And when I brought it down, they kept the books and were like, yeah, those aren't real. I'm like, damn it, everyone was right. I'm
No,
getting
so
scammed.
but you wanted to. Did you? You only discovered that. I want to at least acknowledge this because I think I want to take it on for David and I here. was you only discovered that when you got close to the fire trying to create, doing good, right? Trying to create, or whatever good was. Sorry. No, not good. When you stepped into wanting to start your charity, wanting to look at what was already existing out in the world, researching peace and seeing what that looked like, right? And that's where you kind of became the victim of it. And I've been a victim too. I'll declare it right here and right now. Right. And to see it, and it's that ability for us to be able to share that then does not help them. It deters them, and we're talking again. There's more of us, and there's usually a few scammers that are doing this all. Very similar, I think, to our leaders. Not saying that the leaders are scammers. Well, that's your own distinctions for whoever you are. You know, have your own freedom of full self-expression, of course. But yeah, and that's what we're up against. Literally just trying to pre-exist, still paying bills and everything else, and then it's victim. And it's like, I didn't learn about that in school, by the way.
What is your favorite quote, Julie?
Oh yeah, what quote?
I knew this was coming, so I didn't prepare anything because I knew I could pull it straight out of my head.
That's fun.
My favorite quote is something that came to me that I wrote down and made a piece of art. And it's just the one that comes to my mind right now. If you want to learn to love, you've got to find what you love most and let it kill you. Which is a very deep,
absolutely
unconditional love of, like, the surrender of, like, killing yourself. Like, not that killing yourself is the answer to anything, but it's just like you metaphorically kill yourself with what you love, and then you find out true love, because it's just like you could drown yourself in love, or you could run and hide from it. And feelings are uncomfortable for people who have learned to escape and disassociate so heavily. So learning how to love means feeling like you're dying a little bit. And
there's this spookiness around death in the United States, right? But yet thousands of years it was something to discuss. Even there's La Dia de los Muertos, where they remember, and it's through the death that they remember and find, I feel, peace of mind in their day-to-day moving forward for the rest of the year, right? Because they've at least taken time. And what do we have in the United States? We have Memorial Day. It's similar, I think. But in a distinction, last I checked, there is a distinction between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and if you haven't checked that out, please do. Right. But to see that distinction of the life, right? It's the life of the veteran and those who gave their all, you know, and that to see that still, it's not this spookiness, but it's this area where people want it to exist in life. So it's not just the last moment or an emotion where, like you had mentioned, where someone is literally numb to being able to feel the importance of that, and not out of fear, as to saying that it can exist. Life, last I checked, is in measure. We live life in measure, beginning, a middle, and an end. And no one gets out alive. Last I checked, no one gets out of here alive. If they do, let me know. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's a powerful
so where
quote.
Can people reach you, Julie?
I'll give you my phone number. No, I'm just kidding. They can reach me on X, Julie Marie, but it's JULEIGH Marie. Yep. And I think if they want to reach me, they probably shouldn't. No, if they want to interview me, that'd be great. But if you're not Jimmy Fallon, I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. I kid big, but I do believe that my Instagram is also connected to my ex, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So it's either one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm following you too. So if they know my profile, I'm following Julie as well, and JPNA is too. So.
All right.